Oh, in the name of Arnell Hill, did you miss me?
Did you miss me, baby? Did you miss me, baby? Who
We
loves you,
oh
baby? As Kojak would say.
listen, as you see from the banner, you know what time it is, man. We're gonna be all nice, Ace, and the dapper, elite, super blazered out with the
Yeah,
pin on the shoulder. The Quiet Storm. We are back one more time. How you feeling tonight, Pop?
I am doing good. Ace, my main man's in them.
Yes,
My
yes,
mellow.
yes.
My
They see what time it is.
again, we don't do that seed thing, you know what I mean? My firstborn. I one day we got to have a whole show about about this woke culture and it's, my seed, whatever. My son. So yeah, I'm doing good, man. We out
Good,
here.
man.
We in here. We gonna talk. We go. It's gonna be a Mets
We know what
show.
it is.
So if you're
We know
not
what
a
it is.
Mets fan, you're gonna hate us even more.
That's all right.
If
You're
you're
gonna
a
watch it
Mets
though.
fan, you're gonna love us. If you're a Yankee fan, yeah, we'll get to you.
It's
But
only
other
two
than that,
games. Don't feel too bad.
um, I'm glad to be here. It's a blessing to be here with you,
Yes,
my
yes,
son, and
yes, yes.
um, God is great as always. So
All the
we're gonna
time.
have fun. Make sure that you hit that subscribe and like,
Yes. Hit the like here.
um, join in the conversation.
Before we even hop into this, that top 15 NBA players all time, we're up to about 1.2 thousand views on that. We got
I
a
don't know where that
thousand.
came from,
We
but
got
you know what?
1,200 views
Listen,
on that, man. We appreciate
listen.
y'all, man. We
That
appreciate y'all heavy.
episode is my favorite currently. Um,
It's a
Anybody
lot of
hasn't
people's
watched it, go
favorites,
to
man.
Ace of the Quiet Storm. You'll see top 15 NBA players of all time.
Yeah, man.
That generated a lot of conversation, even
It did.
offline.
It did.
Um, but you know what? It's the list. It's our
We
list,
we
and we live
appreciate
it
y'all
with.
watching, man.
So
We would love if y'all watch all the videos like that, but it's all right. Pick what you
it's
like,
nice.
enjoy it with us, man. We're
It's
not
nice.
here for anything except for have fun, entertain, and just talk, man. Father and son
That's
about
right.
the first place in the division, 60 win already, top tier New York Metropolitans. First, shout out to Max Scherzer. We appreciate you for what you did last night, man.
Thank you, Max.
We almost gave it up. We almost gave it away for you, but that's all right.
But
But
this
pretty
is a
much,
different Mets team right now.
this is a different Mets team,
This is
man.
a different Mets team, and let me tell you a little backstory on the Mets and why the Mets are important to this family. I was born in 1962, the year the Mets came into existence. Anybody who
Right.
knows baseball knows that the reason why the Mets came into existence um,
Yes, you did.
is because uh, the New York Giants and the Brooklyn Dodgers left New York baseball.
Right.
So the Mets colors are a combination of blue from the Dodgers,
Yep.
orange from the Giants.
Yep.
So when they came into existence in 1962, my dad, I was born in 62, he thought it was some sort of providence. We're going to be Mets fans. So when the family moved up here from Alabama,
Right.
actually relocated because I had aunts up here
Roll damn
prior
tide.
to my dad moving here. So it was always about the Mets. It wasn't anti-Yankee. It was pro-Mets. The Yankees don't need no one to love them. They have their legion of fans. They have their, you know, 27 or 28, whatever that ridiculous number of World Series championships is
They got a
now.
lot of them. They
They
do.
have a lot of them. One of them at the hands of the Mets.
They do.
So they have their legacy entrenched. They have their history entrenched. The
Right.
Mets were always my favorite team, yes, growing up, but I loved them even more because I identified with being looked over. The Mets were always looked over. They weren't
Talk
good.
about it.
They weren't great. They
Talk to
weren't
them.
this. They weren't that. So I
Talk to them.
always rooted for the working man team. I
Talk
always
to
rooted
him.
for the underdog team. I always rooted for the Mets because
Hmm.
the jokes coming from Yankee land.
Talk to him.
Nah. So when the Mets, even when the Mets are bad, I stood tall with the Mets, and they've been bad more than they've been good throughout their history. But
Talk
this
to
is
him.
2022,
This is 2022, baby. This is
right?
2022,
And
and hate like this is not gonna break us today. You my man.
nah, I ain't
This
worried
is
about
our
I
man.
block 913. I wish nothing but bad things upon the Mets. Whatever. It's because of those comments. Is why I'm the insufferable Mets fan I am. You can't say nothing bad about the Mets, and I'm gonna react to it.
Talk greasy to these
It's
dudes today.
okay. You can talk about those two losses you took at the hand of an inferior franchise. Take them two L's. We'll see you in the Bronx. We'll
We
see
will
what
see you in the
happens.
Bronx.
You got your
We will
nice
see you in the
little
Bronx.
short right field porch. You can bunt the ball over the fence over there. So you can do that. Talk about your little porch over there. Be happy. We're gonna get into all of that. New York Mets. They are right now
Hmm.
probably the team. I won't say this is the best Mets team here ever because I think the '86
No,
Mets were the best team, even their bench, the best team the Mets ever put on the field.
behind
They
the
should have
bag,
won. They
it
should
gets
have
through
won 2 to
Buckner.
3 world championships,
Yeah,
but circumstances, stupidity, immaturity got in the way.
immaturity,
They
100%.
they didn't reach that potential, which is sad because they had everything working for them to be dynastic. They blew that opportunity.
They did.
But this team leads the National League in runs scored, but they're toward the bottom of the pack in home runs.
All we do is manufacture runs,
They
man.
manufacture
That's all
runs
we do is
probably
manufacture
better
runs right
than
now.
anybody other than maybe the Dodgers or even Atlanta in some ways. They know how to get a runner from second to third. They know how to go first to third on a base hit. It's
Right.
almost as if it's the old way of how they used to do things.
Buck
This-
Showalter, man.
and not
Buck
just
Showalter.
that's key on how Buck sees this team and utilizing what they're able to do best and make it work. Think about last night's game. I mean, let's backtrack to Wednesday night's game. I
Okay.
mean, Tuesday
The
night's game. I'm
Tuesday
sorry.
night game. Tuesday night.
Yankees come out doing what they do best: home runs. They scored all of their runs but one in that series off of a home run.
Right.
That's what they do best. Now they're about to get a player on their team that they traded for today. We'll
I
get to
like
him later.
Benintendi. I like Benintendi a
That
lot.
guy can hit. He's not a home run hitter. He knows how to put the ball in play. He's going to be really, really helpful to that team. But that's what they're the Bronx Bombers for a reason. They hit home runs at an alarming rate. But
Yes.
if you can keep them inside the ballpark, they're not going to beat you the way the Mets can. They're just not going to. And that has been shown to be the case. The Yankees are a great team as long as they're a bloop and a blast, 3-run blast, 2-run blast, like last night from Gleyber Torres. So that's how the Yankees are looking to dominate you by imposing their will upon you with power and good
Yep.
pitching. The Mets do not impose their will on teams. What they do is simply beat you, and you look up at the score and you wonder, how the hell did we lose this game?
Because the
To
Mets
the
are really
Mets.
good. The Mets are really good defensively. Really good defense. Lindor is incredible. Like I understand he's not hitting the way that we want him to hit, and he'll get there. He's starting to come around. He starts to look more comfortable there. But he's unbelievable defensively. Unbelievable. Marte is unbelievable defensively. We love McNeil's defense. Like Escobar's finally starting to come out of that funk that he was in, but he's excellent defensively. Like we play really good defense, and our pitching, man, this is all without DeGrom. Jacob hasn't even. Jacob's not here yet. Max, we
No.
just got Max back, and Max is looking like Max Scherzer since he's been
Yeah.
back. 1.7 ERA. Like we're out here with Max.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
really just comes down to pitching, defense, and timely hitting. Now, what does make me nervous is eventually you're going to have to play from behind. You know, sometimes you're going to get down,
Hmm.
and hitting with power, hitting the ball out of the ballpark is going to be important in a lot of these big moments, a lot of these big series come playoff time.
I
Um,
agree. I
but
agree.
by then, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, listen, we're almost 40 games over 500 right now,
Well,
not hitting the ball
here's
out.
this is that's an interesting take because you look at the lineup. Let's just go back to defensively. Uh, Lindor is playing much better defense than he's playing the
Unbelievable.
defense he played in Cleveland
He's
right now.
unbelievable defensively.
Right, Guillorme is about as sure-handed as you can ask for.
Yep.
Right, Escobar had a couple of blips early in the season. Now he's steady.
He's
He's
locked in.
making wonderful plays at third. Right, Starling Marte, you don't want to run against.
No.
Right, he's that right field arm that reminds you a little, for my generation, Dave Parker when he was with the Reds,
Okay.
or Dave Winfield when he in his prime. You
Don't
just
run on him.
didn't run on certain people. Marte is turning into one of those guys who throws darts from the outfield. Brandon Nimmo, another very sure-handed,
He's just a
very
really
steady
good fielder.
outfielder. Mark Canha, another smart, intelligent. He doesn't have the greatest arm, but he's accurate. So he hits the cutoff man. The
Yep.
Mets hit the cutoff man as well as anybody, but that starts with Buck Showalter. They hit the cutoff man, and they know where to throw the ball. Even if it means sacrificing a run, they'll get you at third.
Right.
Right? So that quells a big inning. They keep it as tight as possible. Like, okay, fine. We'll give up a run. We're not going to give up the big inning.
We're not going to give up the beginning.
The big inning. Then you get to offensively. From top to bottom, they're a contact team. Mets don't strike out a great deal. Right?
No, they don't.
So they're going to put the ball in play. Now, sometimes that means a double play. Sometimes that means a pop out, whatever. They have to get better with situational hitting. And I think Buck is helping with that, has done a great job with that.
Yep.
I give a case last night, 8th inning. Lindor has a guy at second, 3-1 count, he pops out. That's not a pitch you want to pop out,
Right.
right? To the second baseman. That's not that a 3-1 pitch. You should be looking to drive that pitch. He made the mistake. Those are things that happen. But for the most part, as you saw in the 10th and the ninth, bottom of the ninth last night, leadoff double, let's bunt the guy to third, force the Yankees to pull their infield in. Right? So now you pull your infield in, Starling Marte, game over.
Right.
So things like that enable the Mets to win games. That's going to be very important down the stretch. It's going to be very important in the playoffs that we can win 4 out of 7 playing this way.
We can. 100%.
All right. Now remember, they split with the Dodgers early in the year.
They did.
In LA. 2-2. The team that playoff team that probably gave them the most fits was Houston.
Houston.
Right?
We don't have to worry
Playoff
about that to
time.
the World Series.
Playoff time, when you have DeGrom back, if DeGrom is DeGrom, and you have Scherzer, and you have Taijuan Walker, I will put those 3 starters at the top of my rotation
You got to
against
beat us 4
anybody,
times.
against
beat us 4 times.
anybody in baseball. Even Houston with Verlander, even Clayton Kershaw and them guys in LA, I will put those top 3 against your top 3. So, because it's likely they're going to give up a big hit before DeGrom or Scherzer will.
I agree.
So, I will take that. And honestly, Edwin Diaz is making hitters look retarded out there.
You can't- He's making them look wild out there. He's making them look
He's
crazy.
making
He's
people look
making them
like
look
they don't
crazy.
belong on the same field. Even
He's
if he
making them look
walked
crazy.
somebody, he came right back. Listen, you shouldn't be striking people out like that. Now, mind you, this is the same Edwin Diaz that was giving up game
He's
tying and
giving up
game winning home runs.
everything. Yeah.
So all of a sudden, this year, he's the Edwin Diaz he was in Seattle.
Yeah, he's
How?
locked in.
If you're the Yankees, you're thinking, okay, they brought in Diaz in the eighth inning, and he embarrassed. Then he comes in the ninth inning. He's okay. I got a runner on. I'm not worried about this. By the way, Judge had that one pitch. It just hung out over the plate a little bit too much,
Ooh, you
and he took it
listen.
for a strike. That ball should have been in the bleachers. Nah, I ain't worried about it.
I
Bye
will
bye.
say this about Judge. Judge is the most terrifying. Every time he comes to the plate,
Oh yeah.
it's
I'm scared to
terrifying.
death.
It's
Scared to death.
terrifying every time he comes to the plate. He's that guy. Speaking of like a guy like that, so we talked about how great the Mets are. We're excited right now. Here's the thing, though. I got a couple questions. One, do you want to make a Juan Soto run? Do we want to give up what it's going to cost to go get Juan Soto right now?
No. We'll
Because the
let somebody
prospects,
else pay him first, and then we'll get him in 2 years. Because he's only
it's going to cost.
24. I
It's
think he's
going to
around
cost a
24,
lot to get him right now.
right?
Yes.
So if you don't want to give up your top two players in your system for a player that can opt out on you, right?
Right.
So that's the problem that teams have when it comes to, like, think what the Mets did last year. They got Javier Baez.
Right.
They gave up Pete Crow Armstrong, who's likely going to win a Gold Glove one day.
Yeah, he's that good.
Okay,
I agree.
if he can hit, he's going to be a perennial Gold Glover. His defense is fantastic. They had to give him up and a couple other guys for a guy who didn't want to be there after this year, after last year.
Right.
Now he's in Detroit. So you gave up too much for a guy that didn't get you to the playoffs and then left you in free agency. So when you talk about a Soto, who's going to get a $400 million contract, if not more, at
He's
some point,
unbelievable. He's
right?
unbelievable.
What are you willing to mortgage your future for that player? Now, you did have a great draft this year,
Yes.
a top 5 draft from top to bottom this year. So if you want to put together a trade package for him, you may have to give up your first round draft pick. You might have to give up a second. You might have to give up a couple of players on your current roster. You may have to do that. But can you sign him for the long term?
They can. We have
Now,
the,
Steve
the Mets
Cohen,
have a guy. The Mets have a guy who
he's the
now
Steinbrenner of this
he's not
generation.
worried about that. B.
He ain't worried about it.
How
So
much? I
you have
got
to,
you.
but they also had Steve Cohen last year and couldn't sign Baez. These players tend to they're as smart as owners are. Listen, I'm gonna drive the asking price up, and if Cohen wants me for 10 years, 500 million, okay. Now that I cringe at the thought of that type of contract, but that you can see Soto probably being that one player right now that can
Soto's
get.
probably going. He'll probably
He's
get
gonna crack about
something.
400.
Something 10 years, maybe 11 years
12
for
years, 11. Yeah,
420 or something like that.
yeah, it's gonna be crazy.
It's going to be something insane. And the Mets. Here's why I say yes. One, I'm just like anytime you get the best player in a deal by a large margin, I think you win the deal. Juan Soto has proven that he's really, 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 really good. I think Juan Soto would thrive in this market. I think Juan Soto would want to be in this market for a while as long as we're paying him and we'll pay him. It really just comes down to how much of the future do you want to mortgage with your farm system. We finally got some guys in our system who are actually looking to be legit guys.
You would
We've
have
built,
to give up Alvarez.
we'd have, oh yeah,
You would
Alvarez is
have
the
to,
first name that's
and
coming up.
he is probably your catcher of the future. And the Mets need him badly because their catching, from a hitting standpoint, is atrocious.
It's not good at all.
So
It's not good at all.
if you give him up, you're
Love
gonna have
Nito
to
as
now
I love
readdress.
Nito as a catcher. I think Nito's really good defensively. He calls a good game. He
So's
hitting is
McCann. They
not it.
call great games,
They can't hit.
but in pressure situations with the bat, I
They're
trust
not
none
hitting.
of them.
They're not hitting.
So you're gonna have to now develop one of the catchers you drafted in this draft. If you're looking to trade him to a
Trade Alvarez.
division rival, mind you, in Washington, and
It's Juan
watch him
Soto, man.
destroy your team.
It's
But
Juan Soto,
Soto,
man.
a left-handed bat like Soto in front of Alonso or
Oof.
behind Alonso, oh come on, man, that's not even fair, man.
You see what I'm
that
saying
would be
now? It's Soto,
that would be
man.
crazy. That'd be
It's
crazy.
Soto.
And
Now,
the
do I
Mets
think
need
they
that.
do
They
it?
need a left-handed.
They
They need
do.
a lefty-righty punch with power. That's
With
something that they
power.
don't have. And when the Mets have been really, really good, they've
They have
had
that.
both. David Wright, Carlos Delgado. Carlos
Yes.
Beltran was a switch hitter. So
Yes.
even when they had Cliff Floyd during those years, he was a left-handed power bat.
Yes.
Strawberry, Gary Carter,
Yes.
Hojo. You know what I mean? You have to have some power from the left side of the plate. And that's one area. Unless it's Lindor or the occasional home run from Nimmo or McNeil, you're not getting that.
You're not getting that consistently. And that's really the point where it comes down to. Now, do I think they go get Soto? I doubt it. They probably don't. But then you go into the offseason and you try to make a trade for him there. We'll see how that goes. But that's fine. I just want them to get him.
I think
I just want them to get him, man.
this is going to be the key. Wherever he goes, he's probably going to have an opt-out clause so he can test free agency, right? The whole point is, do you want to trade for him now and risk losing him in free agency? Or do you let him go wherever for this year? You promote Alvarez to be your everyday catcher,
Okay.
starting spring training. Then you go say, you know what? Because you're not giving up Alvarez. If the Mets are smart and patient, you let Soto go for somewhere for half a year, from August to October. Okay. You go there, you do your thing, man. We will see you in free agency. You're not taking that way because the Mets are in the driver's seat as far as playoffs and all that good stuff. So they're not hurting at this particular moment. But if they decide to wait, promote Alvarez, because Alvarez got a promotion once already, he'll likely get an invite to spring training, and they'll see where he is then.
Right.
They will be patient enough to say, okay, Alvarez, you come up and you're going to be our everyday catcher. We'll sign a good backup. Oh, we'll sign a good backup. We want to go get Juan Soto. Now, if you're the Mets
Okay.
and you're Steve Cohen, I didn't have to give up the top player in my system,
They're gonna
and
have
I
to though.
got Soto. There's only a couple of teams that can afford to get Soto,
And the
right?
Mets are one of them. Just go
And the
get
Mets are
Juan,
one of
bro.
them. And the Mets are one of them. Do I think he'll end up a Met? I think he'll end up a Met, but not this.
Probably
I
not.
don't think this year he will.
Probably not. Probably not. Question two: Luis Castillo, pitcher in Cincinnati, talking
Mhm.
about being available. I don't know if the Mets go that route, but if they go that route, like he's been amazing this year. Great starter. Obviously, he's on the move. Cincinnati's looking to rebuild. do you go try to add a Castillo to this top two and just go out there with four pitchers? Like I always err on the side of get the big time pitcher versus the big time hitter. That that that's all because the
because
Mets walk out there
pitching wins championships at the end of the day.
always, man,
So
always.
do I think they go get Castillo? I think they should.
Okay,
I think that if anything last night proved, you can't have enough pitching. And you have to and somebody's gonna have to lose their place in the rotation in order to be a long man or a setup man for Diaz.
right.
Because you saw what happened last night. Peterson comes right in the game, tie game,
Oh my god.
right? So and I think what happens with players now need defined roles, right? Especially pitchers. Trevor Williams has been able to be a long man or a spot starter. David Peterson, even though he came off injury, was a decent starter as a rookie. But he hasn't quite taken that next step the way the Mets had hoped he would.
Right.
You go get Castillo, you demote someone, but you give him a defined role for the team. You give and that mentally that should help them. But the Mets even more so need a bona fide setup man. They need
Yeah.
an eighth inning guy who's lights
Yeah.
out. And
Yeah.
because
Smith is making me nervous, man. Drew Smith
well,
makes me.
Smith just went to the DL today,
He did. He did.
so now you need one even more.
100%.
Ottavino has had a good year. I think he could be a sixth and seventh inning guy. Williams could be a sixth or seventh inning guy if you need it. But the Mets starters have been doing very well going 6-7 innings.
Going 6-7.
So
Right.
if you get that from your starters, you can have Ottavino, Diaz, somebody else Diaz. But the Mets, I think this series has proven that you need somebody that you can hand the ball to. If you buck Showalter, you hand the ball to get one out. That's my guy to get that out, to
This
set
is
me
my
up for the
guy.
ninth inning.
Right.
So I think that's where the Mets' biggest need is pitching wise. It's not so much the starters. It's the middle of that bullpen to get to Diaz. Because once
Right.
you get to Diaz, he's lights out,
He's lights out.
right? So I think they need that and they need a bat. They definitely need a left-handed bat or a pure DH. Somebody that they can trust. And I think we mentioned this on a prior call. Somebody that they can trust to leave in that DH role.
Right.
Just leave them there. Because the National League, it's their first time having a DH all year. They're not as good at it as the American League has been.
Right.
So they need to figure out this DH role and who to develop for that role to be the next Edgar Martinez or the next Big Poppy. Or you know what I mean? Somebody who can step
Right.
into that role and be lights out on that role. Somebody who just likes to hit. I don't want to think about
Just,
defense. I don't want
I
to
just
think
want to hit
about
the
nothing.
ball. I
Just
just
want
want
to
to
hit
hit.
the ball. And that's what they need. I think that's something the Mets are going to have to look into in the future.
So, we obviously locked in with the Mets. Um, as we make the playoff push, obviously, I don't want to say anything's obvious. Anything can happen, but it looks like right now we're locking into a playoff spot, high playoff spot as far as, making sure we get home field going on. Obviously, you got the Dodgers out there. If you had to pick right now, objectively as we're gonna get, what do you think the AL and NLCS looks like right now? Is it as clear as Dodgers, Mets, and then Houston, New York, and then Houston Yankees? Like, who's
You know,
gonna
they
come
have,
in and mess that up?
with the extra playoff teams now in the league, um, depending on what the Mets can do by the trade deadline, will help this thought process a little better.
Right.
I believe Atlanta is a problem. They always will be to the Mets.
They always will be.
They always will be. Until the Mets can beat Atlanta on a steady basis or which, like, for instance, they just took 2 out of 3 before the All-Star break in Atlanta.
Right.
They have to play Atlanta like that moving forward,
They do.
right? If they can do that, I see it being a Mets Dodgers
NLCS.
uh,
Okay.
NLCS, because the Dodgers are the class of the league record
Yes.
wise, and there's nobody out west that can beat them. Now, the problem the Dodgers have is they always find a way to get beat. They won the World Championship a couple of years ago. Yeah, they always find a way, man. The Dodgers always seem to underachieve um, when you least expect them to. But
It's
that's
true.
because playoff time, good pitching
Good
will
pitching.
always beat good hitting.
Good pitching.
Right?
And Kershaw
And
carries a
Kershaw's
lot,
not the
man.
same Kershaw.
He's not the same
Um,
Kershaw now either.
no,
So
but they still have they have a great team. They have an outstanding offensive
they
team.
they really do.
Um, they play pretty good team defense. They have some very good defenders on that team.
Right.
So it's going to be I personally think it's going to be a Mets Dodgers NLCS.
Okay.
I think the Mets figure out a way to get past the division series. I think they figure it out, especially with home field. I think they have a chance. I think their pitching, especially their starters,
Right.
will go those 7 innings for you. And I do believe that what has served the Mets well throughout the year and manufacturing runs will serve them well in the playoffs.
Okay.
And not giving up the big blast, I think that serves them well. In the American League, it's going to be hard to not
It's
see the
gonna be
Yankees
hard
and
to
Astros.
not be Yankees Houston. It's
Yeah, I
I
mean,
don't
I
see a
can't
path.
see anybody
I don't see it.
overtaking the Yankees in that league, except Houston. Houston is the only threat to the Yankees, and
It
the
Houston
Yankees,
has smoked both New York teams this year.
both New York teams, they have smoked both, and I mean it hasn't been close.
They
I mean
smoked
in the
both of
Mets
those
series,
teams.
it hasn't been close. I mean they just took it to the Mets.
Yeah.
It's funny about the Yankees series, like in many ways, the Yankees outplayed Houston, still lost. That's
Still lost.
demoralizing for a team that we played well just to still lose. So I think it's going to come. I don't think it's going to be a Subway Series, though. I know a lot of New York
Mm,
fans think it's going to be a Subway Series. My gut tells me
who doesn't
Mets
get there?
Astros.
Ooh.
That's what my gut tells me.
You think Mets get there? Okay.
Sometimes Cinderella doesn't lose the slipper. I think the Mets are the Cinderella team
Okay.
because they weren't expected to overtake Atlanta. And there's still a
No,
lot
they
of
weren't.
baseball left. So they may not
There is.
overtake Atlanta.
There is.
Atlanta's capable of winning another 15 in a row and making life real difficult, right? But I think if they do, I think they make the World Series. I think they're so young and so professional in how they go about their business, they can beat LA.
Okay.
I think the Yankees, if they're not hitting the cover off the ball, they just don't manufacture runs well enough to
I
win
agree.
against Houston. Houston still has some speed. Now, again, the trade the Yankees made today may change that.
Benintendi is such a good pick for them,
Benintendi
man.
might
That's
change
such
this
a
whole
good move
conversation
for them.
because he can hit. He is a legitimate hitter
He's an all-star.
who's a good defender. So, an all-star. And listen, that trade might be. They're not talking a whole lot about that trade yet,
That trade's amazing.
but that was a great
That's a
move
wonderful move for them
for them.
because now
So
they don't have to start Joey Gallo anymore. You put Benintendi in
there
there,
you go.
and
There
now
you
your
go.
lineup starts to round out.
I
That's just a
think that's what they realized
smart
that
move.
we have guys in Stanton and Judge, Rizzo. We got
Who can
power.
smoke the ball, right? 100%.
Yeah, we have power. They have power for days. So having that, if you're the Yankees, you're really sitting there saying, "Listen, we just got a little bit more balance in our lineup." You know what I mean? Our 6 through 9 hitters just got a little bit better. This guy's gonna see more pitches. That's the importance of having a guy who's a threat in front of you or behind you. You're gonna see better pitches.
You are.
So Benintendi is gonna be he's a good hitter. He's gonna be on base, and now you're gonna have to pay attention to him being on base, and you're gonna groove something in there to them Yankee bats, and it's gonna be out of the ballpark or in the gap. So I think the Yankees did a smart thing um, with that move. I still think that their bullpen has been very good, but it's shaky, a little bit like the Mets.
Right.
They have a very good bullpen. You saw from last night; they can be a little shaky, but that's a lot of teams when they're playing good teams can make you look that way.
I agree.
But I think it comes down to both New York teams will end up in the um, league championship series, I, and I really get the feeling the Mets have as good a shot as anybody in getting to the World Series. I believe the Yankees have a good a shot.
I
To the
agree.
World Series. But it's just going to be really funky
Man,
trying to get past Houston. Now, mind you, this is a Houston team that is
they
still
just know how
playing
to
dominant
win, man.
baseball, even after the scandal of the cheating and everything
They
else.
just like,
They
losing George Springer,
this
like
this
they just
Dusty
win,
Baker
man.
is amazing.
Yes.
Dusty Baker is amazing. He
Dusty doesn't
came
have a
in
World
there,
Series, does he?
yeah, huh? He's
I
never
said
won a
Dusty.
World Series. So
That's the only
Dusty,
I like Dusty,
yeah, I
man.
like Dusty too, man. That
I like
toothpick of his
Dusty,
get
man.
going, man. He's calm. He's another Buck Showalter. He's a calm presence. Doesn't argue a whole lot. Sort of stares at the umpire a little bit. Umpire, he just has that look, and that
Right.
feeds on the players. Like we don't have to be animated. Our manager has us. So that's a good. Dusty is a great manager, but you know what? Buck hasn't won a World Series either. So the two managers who are managing the best is with probably less talent because the Mets don't have as much talent
The Mets don't have as
as the
much.
Dodgers.
Yeah.
They may not have as much talent as the Braves,
Oh, they don't.
right? Houston does not have as much talent as the Yankees.
Houston has been
But
winning for a
Houston
long
knows how to
time,
play the
man.
game. That's right. They know how to play the
And if
game.
they get Jordan Alvarez back, fine. He's the most terrifying guy to play this year. Like
Yeah. They know how to play,
he,
man.
yeah.
They know how to play. And it's
Okay.
going to be interesting. So I think
I'm pretty
Houston,
sure I see it the same exact way.
yeah.
I see if everything breaks right, Mets Dodgers. I see Yankees Astros, and then that's gonna. From there, I don't know.
I,
From
listen,
there, I don't know.
listen. If the
But
Mets
if
make it
we
to the
get
league
that,
championship series
big time, man,
and the seven
big time.
line army, you come to New York and you got the seven line army out there and all that orange, you know what I mean? And all that loudness they bring.
It's
New
gonna be
York,
playoff
no
Met
matter whether
basketball.
it's the
It's gonna be
Yankees or the
playoff Met
Mets,
baseball.
it is just something different about playoff
It's different.
baseball in New York. It's like the same way in any sport basketball, football, hockey.
It's different.
New York, the noise coming out of City Field, these two games was ridiculous.
It was insane. It was
And,
insane.
and you
Seeing a
can't,
Subway series where both teams was good felt wow. Okay, this is
yeah,
something. This is something important. This is something special. Not and as we wind down, the main thing I like about this, and I spoke about it with a couple of Mets friends earlier, is that in the past, Mets fans are treating this like a World Series. We beat the Yankees twice. Now it's, hey, we got these two. We had a walk off last night. Beautiful. On to the next.
yeah,
Job's not done. And a lot of that comes from Buck Showalter. A lot of that comes from this team. I think they start to see, listen, we've got something special here. We just got to beat who's in front of us. Of course, it feels good to beat, the big brother
yeah,
finally, and to beat a really good Yankee team and to be, and you know what, in the Bronx, they're right back, and it's going to be different in the Bronx, man. It's
Listen,
going to be
listen.
wild in the Bronx.
Playoff baseball,
It's
especially
going to be
baseball,
wild in the Bronx next month,
is going to
man.
be
When
ridiculous in New York. The stretch run is going to
stretch
be
run is going to be big
ridiculous.
time.
And what makes City Field a little intimidating. I know that they lost the World Series to Kansas City a few years back,
Oh man,
um, and that
shouldn't
still
have either.
haunts me because
It shouldn't have.
The Mets were ahead every game except one that they lost in the eighth inning. They should have closed that series out, but they didn't get the job done.
You
At
shouldn't
the
have
end
let
of the
Harvey
day,
in, bro. Never mind. Never mind. It's all
yeah,
right.
we're not even going to discuss it. Yeah, they should have, but we're not even going to discuss it. But City Field, I've been to City Field. City Field is like an old Ebbets Field, just not. It's so
Hasn't been
close,
broken in yet. Yeah.
right? I mean, it's. They've had World Series games there. They've had an All Star game there, um, but it's loud. It's loud. It's like a little park. It's like this. Like anybody could go play ball in that park. You don't realize how loud it is
It's heavy.
until you're there. Now, some stadiums that are cavernous, a little bigger, fans are a little further off you know, from the playing field. It's a little different. City Field is like a throwback to old polo grounds. It's just not as deep because how anybody hit a home run in the polo grounds is beyond me. But because that stadium was like a
Polo Grounds
cavern, like
was
a
what, like
canyon.
480 dead center.
I think dead center was like 470, and
Oh,
down the lines was like 403 or four. I mean,
down the line. You
and
know
the
what?
gaps were
Down the
yeah, it was
lines, it was like super short. It was like three. It was like three something down the lines, but like 475 dead center.
the dead center.
So you were
I mean,
smashing the ball, flyouts. Boop.
yeah, I mean flyouts. I got this one. I'll take this, right? So City Field is going to be different. It's a beautiful place to play, scenic. I'm looking forward to it. But I think the Mets are on their way. Yankee fans, I'm not going to hate on you because you will be in the league championship series. I have no doubt about that. It's just a matter of the Yankees.
Yeah.
How will the Yankees be? Because there's nobody else in the American League that's going to beat the Yankees unless it's Houston.
Unless it's Houston.
That,
I
I
agree.
mean, that's really the only team that could possibly beat the Yankees. There are a couple of teams. The Mets have a harder road
I
to
agree.
get there than the Yankees do. The
They
Yankees,
do.
right? So the Mets have to make sure they get past Atlanta first. Then they have to deal with maybe a wild card team that gets hot at the right moment. Then they got the Dodgers as well. So the Mets have a harder road to get there. I just think they get there.
Okay.
I think
Polo
they get
Grounds. Polo Grounds. 279 left field. 279.
279. What
279.
dead center?
279 left field. Left center was 450. Center field was 483.
Oh my
Right field was 258.
God. Okay. So in other
who
words,
made
the
who
right
made that field?
field and the left field porches were under
270.
300 feet.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
But the gaps, right center and left center,
450, 449, dead center 483.
that's crazy. That's crazy. No wonder they left. No wonder the Giants went to Candlestick Park.
I'm not
That
doing
makes
this no
no
more.
sense, man. Like look,
Oh man.
my career is done. Unless you're a dead pull hitter. I mean,
Right.
like down the line, unless you're a
You're
dead pull
mashing a
hitter,
475 dead center.
475 fly out to the center fielder. By the
Man.
time the center fielder gets to the dugout, the other team's warm-up pitches are over. Come on, man. That's crazy.
Man. Man.
That is
I feel
bananas.
that field is insane. I feel good about this Mets team, man. I and we were planning on doing this Mets thing, and then coming off of this 2-game series against the Yankees, it just felt like the right time to really get in here and break down why they've been so good, what it looks like for the outlook. This won't be the last time we talk about it, but
No.
it felt good to talk about it this time, man. Just get it out there, get with the Mets. We got something. So next week is the Hall of Fame game. We got something special for the Hall of Fame game
Yeah, we're gonna
episode.
have to talk
You know
about some
what?
Hall of Famers, but we'll get to
Do we
that
want to tell
because
them? Do we want to tell them?
uh,
Do we want to tell them? Top 10
you gotta
NFL
have a
players of
top
all
10 NFL players of
time.
all time. Next week is the Hall of Fame game for the NFL. NFL training camp has started. Teams are in camp. Players are in camp. The rhetoric is about to start amping up a little bit. We cannot allow the Hall of Fame game to come and we not discuss
The top 10 NFL players of
top 10
all
NFL players of all time.
time. I
Now,
can't wait to
listen,
make
we're
this
talking
list.
about
I can't wait.
players, not by position,
No, players,
pure
period.
players.
This
Top
list is going to be
10
fun.
all
This
time.
list is going to
Now,
be fun. I'm
here's
not
what
giving
we-
anything away.
I'm not giving you nothing.
I'm not
You
giving
just have to
anything
tune in
away.
next week to hear that list,
That list is going to
right?
be big time.
Because trust us when we tell you, some of y'all gonna be like, okay, y'all wilding. Y'all straight wilding. Y'all straight wilding. Like, no. We talk about, and we don't give two hoots
Not one.
era or none of that.
Nope.
You listen. Getting hit is getting hit. Catching the ball is catching the ball. Throwing the ball is throwing the ball. If you're one of the greatest ever, we're going to be able to tell you why we think that player
Break this down.
is one of the greatest
We're
ever.
going to break this
We're
down.
not going to be looking at, oh, man, he played in the 60s. We won't care. If he makes the list, there's a reason why he's on the list. Now, if he's not on the list, there's going to be a reason why somebody else got picked over him.
It is. And we're going to
not
break it all down.
experts. We don't get paid for this. This is
We're not
all
worried
fun.
about that, man.
We don't care about that. We're going to give it to you. So next week, you may not want to miss this one.
Oh, absolutely not.
Top 10
Absolutely.
NFL players.
Of
And
all,
then after that, we got to talk about how Alabama just picked up a 5-star safety out of Georgia. Yeah, we're going to talk about that down the road.
we're going to break this all down. We appreciate y'all, man. Let's go Mets. Again, from Mr. Quiet Storm, I'm Ace, man. We appreciate y'all. Remember, like button, subscribe. We got some fantastic stuff coming for you, man. We appreciate y'all. God bless.
Love y'all.
Always, always.
Thank you.